I used to think I had everything until I lost it all. For 15 years, I was married to Jack, a man most people would consider a dream partner. We had 2 boys, a comfortable life, and Jack, now 45, was everything you could hope for in a husband. He was responsible, fit, and generous. He coached our son's soccer teams, stayed on top of his job, and still made time for date nights. He supported me through thick and thin, especially when I was struggling with my health a few years ago. Looking back, I realized that was a point where things started to shift, though I didn't see it at the time. After my recovery, something changed within me. I started going back to the gym, focusing on myself again, and suddenly I was getting attention, not just from Jack, but from other men at the gym, at work, even random guys at the grocery store. I hadn't felt this way in years. I felt desirable. That feeling woke something up in me, a restlessness, a need for more, for excitement. At first, I ignored it. I told myself that what I had with Jack was enough, that I was lucky to have a man who loved me so much. But the thoughts wouldn't go away. What if I'm missing out? What if this is my chance to feel free before life boxes me in completely? The idea of an open marriage crept into my mind like a dangerous whisper. I told myself it wasn't about dissatisfaction, but about exploration, about finding a way to have everything. The stability of home and the excitement of something new. One night over wine, I brought it up to Jack. I framed it as something to strengthen our relationship, something fun we could explore together. "I love you, Jack," I said, as my heart pounded in my chest. "But I think maybe we've been missing out on something. What if we open things up a bit? You know, meet other people. No secret. No lies." Jack looked at me like I had just suggested jumping off a cliff together. "Sarah, what are you talking about? We're happy, aren't we?" "We are," I insisted, forcing a smile. "But this could make us even closer." His reaction wasn't what I expected. He didn't get angry or defensive. Instead, he just went quiet, staring at his half-empty wine glass. "This is different. I need time to think about it," he finally said, his voice low. I gave him time. I pushed it out of my mind and pretended like everything was fine, but the tension between us was growing. Jack wasn't his usual affectionate self anymore. The little kisses in the morning, the way he used to pull me into his arms without warning, those moments started to disappear. I told myself it was just the stress of what I had brought up, that he needed time. A week later, Jack agreed, reluctantly. "Fine," he said one evening as we sat on the porch after the kids were asleep. "If this is what you want, we'll try it. But there have to be rules. No one from work, no one from our social circle, and if either of us feels uncomfortable, we stop immediately." I was elated, almost giddy with the possibility. But Jack's eyes, they weren't happy. They were distant, like he was already somewhere else, emotionally pulling away. I should have seen the warning signs, but I didn't. I created a profile on a dating app that night. The thrill was intoxicating. Flirting with strangers, getting attention from men who didn't know me as Jack's wife or a mom. It was new and exciting, and I convinced myself that it was harmless. I was still coming home to my husband, still being a mom to my kids. What harm could it do? But things escalated quickly. There was one man in particular, a coworker named Ben, who had always shown interest in me. I knew it was breaking the rules, but the temptation was too much. He was charming, funny, and always complimented me on how great I looked after losing weight. One day, he asked if I wanted to grab lunch. Lunch turned into drinks, and drinks turned into something more. Before I knew it, we were sneaking off during our breaks at work, meeting in secret. I told myself it was just physical, that Jack didn't need to know. But the guilt gnawed at me in ways I couldn't ignore. Jack, meanwhile, was changing too. He became more distant. He stopped reaching out for me at night, stopped holding me the way he used to. I tried not to notice, but it was impossible to ignore the growing gap between us. It felt like we were living in the same house, but on completely different planets. Then one day, everything shifted. Jack started staying late at work more often. He was going on business trips that hadn't existed before. My paranoia kicked in. What if he was seeing someone? I had asked for this, but the thought of Jack with another woman made my stomach churn. I started checking his phone, looking for signs, and then I saw it. Messages between him and our neighbor Emily. Emily, who lived just 2 houses down from us, had been over countless times. We'd shared dinners, celebrated birthdays together. She was kind, beautiful, and, worst of all, familiar. She wasn't just some random person. She was a friend who had crossed the line. I confronted Jack that night. I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice trembling as I held up his phone. "Emily?" "Really, Jack?" He didn't deny it. He didn't try to hide. Instead, he just sighed, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "I didn't plan for this to happen," he said quietly. "But it did. You wanted this, Sarah. You wanted us to be open." "This isn't what I wanted," I screamed, tears streaming down my face. "I didn't want you with her." Jack stared at me for what felt like an eternity before finally speaking. "Maybe you didn't want this. Maybe neither of us did. But here we are." The next words he said shattered me. "I think we should end this, Sarah. Not just the open marriage. I mean, us. I want a divorce." In that moment, everything became crystal clear. I had been chasing freedom, excitement, and attention, but in the process, I had lost the one person who had always been there for me. I had pushed Jack away, and now there was no going back. Jack moved out a week later. I'm still in the house, but it feels empty now. The boys are adjusting, but they know something's off. I haven't told them everything yet. How do you explain to your kids that you destroyed your marriage for a fantasy? If you're listening, I hope my story helps you think twice. The thrill I chased wasn't worth the price I paid. Don't make the same mistake I did. Have you been through something similar? Share your story with us at elskrets123@gmail.com. Your truth could help someone else before it's too late. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more real-life stories of love, lies, and the secrets we keep.